Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne. Short introduction. I'm world famous. Come on, you all know me. Sorry for the lack of humility. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Is translation arranged? Yes. Okay, good. Sri Caitanya-caritamrta of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Adi Lila, chapter 8, text 7. E Shab Namane Jeba Kare Krishna Bhakti Krishna Kripa Nahi Tare Nahi Tar Gati E Shabna Mane Jeba Kare Krishna Bhakti Krishna Kripa Nahi Tare Nahi Tar Gati. Kisha.
Ei Shabnamane Jeba Kare Krishna Bhakti.
Ei Shabnamane Jeba Kare Krishna Bhakti.
Krishna Kripa Nahi Tare Nahi Tar Gati.
Krishna Kripa Nahi Tare Nahi Tar Gati. A these Shab all Namane does not accept. Jeba anyone who Kare executes Krishna Bhakti devotional service Krishna Kripa mercy of Krishna Nahi is not Tare unto him Nahi there is not Tar his Gati advancement. One who does not accept the glories of the Panchatattva but still makes a show of devotional service to Krishna can never achieve the mercy of Krishna or advance to the ultimate goal. If one is seriously interested in Krishna conscious activities, he must be ready to follow the rules and regulations laid down by the acharyas, and he must understand their conclusions. The Shastra says, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gata sapanthaha. It is very difficult to understand the secret of Krishna consciousness, but one who advances by the instruction of the previous acharyas and follows in the footsteps of his predecessors in the line of disciplic succession will have success. Others will not. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says in this connection, Charya Vaishnava Seva Nishta Payache Keba. Unless one serves the spiritual master and acharyas, one cannot be liberated. Elsewhere he says, Eshai Goshai Ja Muritar Das Tashabar Padarenu Mor Panchagras. I simply accept a person who follows in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis and the dust of such a person's lotus feet is my food. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchatattva. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda are being described. Particularly mentioned as six Goswamis, Sri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Great personalities. The world doesn't know about them. You know about them. You're all very fortunate. We're all very fortunate to know about them. We should crave their association of such pure souls. We come to Krishna consciousness expecting that, to live among saintly people. But we soon find out not everyone's on the level of Rupa Goswami. We may become disappointed. We come to Krishna consciousness. Of course, some of you came through the womb, but you must have taken it up at some point in a previous life. But we come because we're fed up of all the way people live and deal with each other, superficial and many times nasty, cheating behavior of worldly people. That's one reason for coming to Krishna consciousness. We want saintly association. And we come with a high hope of having that, and we do. Devotees who are dedicated to Krishna, maybe at different levels of spiritual advancement, but they're saintly people because they're trying to be Krishna conscious, if not fully Krishna conscious. But anyway, it's common that we find out not long after entering the society of devotees, or maybe after some time, that we become somewhat disillusioned, finding out that everything's not as ideal as we'd hoped for or expected. And the talk I'm just started giving is particularly relevant to the devotional society in Croatia, but throughout the world there are disturbances, sometimes severe disturbances in Vaishnava society. And we find that devotees, even if they're seriously practicing, they may be in leadership positions. We often find, for instance, one cause of disturbance may be that devotees don't behave very well. They may mistreat other devotees or non-devotees, or they may fall from their vows. There are cases of financial corruption, and unfortunately, but it seems almost inevitably, there is politics and dispute within Vaishnava society. Now, how do we understand all this? How do we process it all? Does it mean that Krishna consciousness doesn't work? It might seem like that. We're supposed to be becoming purified. But if we see that even in the society of devotees, there's behavior which we might expect of mundane people, then we may think that, well, maybe this process doesn't work. But it's almost to be expected that there will be disturbance in Vaishnava society, and there will be deviations from the ideal and less than perfect behavior, because it is Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. There's not an excuse for misbehavior of devotees, but it's a fact that the whole atmosphere in human society is very disturbed, and it gets worse day by day. Tataschanu dinam dharma satyam socham. What's the next line? Kshama daya kalena balina rajan nangshantyayur balang smriti. Shukdev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj that, well, you're going to have to die soon, but maybe not such a bad thing. Because with the passing of Parikshit Maharaj is thinking, it's already bad. What's going on? In my kingdom, the cow is being beaten. And he couldn't imagine it was so bad. But Shukdev told him that with the passing of every single day in Kali Yuga, religious principles diminish, truthfulness diminishes, purity, cleanliness diminishes, tolerance diminishes, compassion diminishes, the bodily strength, mental strength. People become more stupid every day by the powerful influence of Kali Yuga, and that people taking to Krishna consciousness don't overnight become pure devotees of Krishna. In one way, if we dedicate fully, in that sense, we are pure devotees, but the example is given of there's several examples. I mean, an unripe mango and a ripe mango. It's on the way, if it's on the tree, and the weather remains steady, it means a lot of heat, then it'll become ripe and it'll become a ripe mango. But if they're, just like here, now should be the season for ripe plums, is it? Now? But I think you're not getting many because there was disturbance in the weather earlier in the year. But there are some, right? There must be some ripe plum. No, none at all. There must be some, yes. So that's like a metaphor for devotional service. But in Kali Yuga, the weather's bad. The whole atmosphere is bad. And so, even those who take to Krishna consciousness, it may be very slow, or we may have to wait until next time around, maybe next lifetime. But some will come through. But at the same time, we understand that we all have, even apart from the disturbed atmosphere in society from which we come, we join with so many sanskaras, bad impressions in our consciousness. That means from previous lives, from this life, we've seen and experienced so many bad things. And that helps to make people more and more disturbed in mind. And then when individuals are disturbed, they tend to disturb everyone else around them. And there's another factor, is that when we try to escape from Maya, then Maya makes more effort to throw us back into material consciousness. So we have bad habits, and there's a saying in English, you probably have something in your language also, that bad habits die hard. That you may be trying to overcome, but it's difficult. Or as Lord Jesus said, the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. We may be trying, but it's hard to overcome bad habits. But we have to keep on trying. We have high ideals. The ideal of becoming fully absorbed in love of Krishna and selfless service to all of humanity and all living beings by spreading the gifts of the Panchatattva, pure Krishna consciousness. There's no higher ideal than this. If we search all the possible things we can do in our life, we won't find anything better than this. There's no further to go, there's no higher thing. It's a glorious ideal, but it's not always easy to live up to. There was a time when Krishna consciousness in the Western world was really booming in the 1970s, and it continued into the 1980s, and in some places like Croatia even into the 1990s. But times have changed. Guru fall down has been a major factor in compromising people's faith. There may be so many factors. Whatever it may be, the glorious movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Srila Prabhupada brought to the Western world, it's not on the same level of hope and dynamism that it used to be. And in this country in particular, there's been over years friction between different groups of devotees with different approaches to Krishna consciousness, or personal issues, tensions between devotees. In the past, devotees have done things to each other which are not forgotten, or they may still be continuing to do things which appears to be almost like enmity, which we can hardly expect between people who are supposed to be committed to high spiritual ideals. But this discord between devotees, it saps our energy and it directs our consciousness down instead of up. It reduces our enthusiasm, and it turns people off, because people may come, they read a book and it's so good, and they are inspired by the ideal in the book, and they come, and if they see devotees are fighting with each other, they'll think, well, it's just like everyone else, and they go away. Or even those who are already committed to Krishna consciousness are going to be discouraged if there's this constant friction. When the elephants fight, the rabbits get trampled underfoot. It's something like that in a family. If the mother and father are always quarreling, and then the children are going to be very disturbed. Even the pet dog gets disturbed. If they see, they want to be in an atmosphere where they feel everything is very nice and very sheltered. But so many children, if they're fortunate to grow up with a mother and a father in the first place, and we're not talking about after the Second World War, when many grew up without fathers, but they grow up without a mother and a father, or both the mother and the father are the same gender. When the persons that are being looked up to are inimical to each other, then people grow up with that in their consciousness, and they'll probably do the same thing themselves if they attempt to get married. And definitely one of the factors in so much child criminality, rampant in America, school shootings, and even happened in Serbia recently. And we don't want it to happen, of course, but it just seems it's a matter of time before it comes here also. It came already. Shooting.
Yes.
Stabbing.
Huh? Stabbing, yeah. It's not so easy to get guns in this country. Not like in America, you can just walk into a shop and buy a gun. And they have signs on the shops, leave your guns outside, something like that. People are very disturbed. So we want to create an atmosphere in Vaishnava society where there's love and peace. It's not so easy just to say it, because there are issues, and just saying peace, brother, doesn't wash all the issues away. Guru fall down is devastating. It's someone who is looked up to as the exemplar. Somehow they're in Krishna consciousness, but somehow they become covered over, blinded by Maya. It's hard to understand how someone can do so much service and do so much good, and then we see that there's something within them that comes out, and it's shocking, and it can be shattering to the faith, very damaging to those who've put their faith in them. And apart from the individual devotees becoming disturbed, then whole projects and whole nations of Krishna consciousness that were doing, the whole movement was going on very strongly and very confidently, and very jubilantly, and then collapse. We've seen in so many cases, and it doesn't pick up even after a generation or more. We're going to see, we have seen, and we will continue to see various things within Vaishnava society which are disturbing. How we as individuals react to that, so that we can go on in our Krishna consciousness. How do we react? We have impressions in our heart, I was saying. Some of us may have a very strong tamagun influence, mode of ignorance. And then that conditioned nature comes out, and then we become just overwhelmed with disappointment, confusion, like Arjuna at the beginning of Bhagavad-gita. He didn't say it, but how is it that my gurus are on the wrong side? They're going against Bhishma, who is the emblem of dharma. He wouldn't say it, Arjuna, but he had that much respect, but he couldn't imagine how he would fight on the other side, on the clearly the wrong side. So Arjuna became depressed. He was put into that consciousness to affect the teachings of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad-gita. But if we become overwhelmed with confusion, disappointment, sink into depression, we become so discouraged, we may give up Krishna consciousness altogether, and we've seen many cases of that. Another manifestation of the mode of ignorance, when it's mixed with the mode of passion, is to become angry. There may be things to be angry at, but then blaming, vengeful, and ready to do battle, destructive. Some devotees become so disturbed that they go on a lifelong campaign. There's that nice peaceful music to make us feel nice, even when things are not nice. We're discussing not nice things. No, some Devotees, they go on a lifelong campaign just trying to point out the faults of others. The Ritvigvadis, they're like that. The only reason for to justify their existence is like Pakistan and India. There's no reason for Pakistan to exist except by pointing out everything that's wrong with India. And there are many things wrong with India, a huge country. But they have to have India as an enemy. Otherwise, there are plenty of Muslims in India, and it could be all the same country. But they have to point out the faults. So it's something like that with Ritvikism. There is no reason for them to exist. But to maintain their reason, their supposed reason, they always have to search for and propagate all the faults in ISKCON. We prefer if you don't shoot this video, Mahaprabhu Gaur, it'll come on the internet because we prefer to keep good quality. You can take it down from there and cut and paste and make your comments and post it as you like. But we should know that throughout history there have been problems with gurus. Otherwise, why do we have in Mahabharata the statement Guru Rapya Viliptasya Karya Majanataha Utpanna Pratipannasya Parityago Vidhiyate? It's right there in Mahabharata. And this Bhishma telling his guru Parashuram, and there's a very similar statement by Lakshman talking about Dasharath in Ramayana, saying that he may be a guru, but if he's off, he doesn't know how to teach properly. Maybe a guru, but he becomes fallen from his position and gets involved in sense gratification, then he should be given up, fully given up. And Jiva Goswami comments that doesn't mean you give up gurus altogether, but you have to find a guru who's properly situated. So there have been problems with gurus since time immemorial, even prior to Kali Yuga, but no one previously thought of introducing some system whereby you imagine yourself to be initiated by a guru who's no longer physically present. So this blaming, victim mentality, self-righteousness, I was used, I was abused, I was cheated, and therefore that justifies me to speak badly about others on and on and on over decades. Just get over it. Go ahead in Krishna consciousness. You're not benefiting anyone, definitely not yourself, by always moaning and complaining and trying to point out faults and being angry and resentment and cynicism. Even these New Age people, they tell you have to have a positive outlook because the negative energy just eats you up, drags you down. Wrongs were done, bad things happened. We can learn from it, move on, grow as an individual. Another New Agey thing, but that's what Bhagavad-gita is all about, right? Otherwise, you'll never have peace of mind. You're always complaining, and this, that. Ashantasya kutas sukham. Krishna teaches. If you don't have peace, then where's the question of happiness? Well, there is one kind of happiness in the mode of ignorance, where you can't take some perverse pleasure in being unhappy. Making yourself miserable. But we can think of all the good things that we've experienced in Krishna consciousness. The gurus fell, or the leaders are not behaving properly. That doesn't mean we have to fall, or we don't have to behave properly. It doesn't mean we have an excuse to fall, or we should fall, or that we must fall. Definitely many devotees have been badly hurt by misbehavior of devotees, or devotees disappointing them. But Krishna is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's not ever going to stop being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna is still Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He's the best friend of all living beings, which includes every single one of us. And we still have to follow the process of devotional service to attain him. We have this very valuable human form of life attained after Bahusambhavante, after many, many lives we had it. And we should utilize it. Whatever happens, don't waste our human life. Carry on. Find the way forward. How do you go forward in such a situation? Pray to Krishna. Find someone you can trust. Take advice from them. Go up. Just consider, it's not all over. Krishna consciousness will never be over. Remember, did you ever feel any bliss in Krishna consciousness? Was that real or was it an illusion? If you've learned that you are a pure spirit soul, an eternal servant of Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that hearing and chanting about him pleases him, and by doing this we can reach him. If we've learned this, then we've not been cheated. This is the most precious gift that we could ever get in uncounted lifetimes. And we get that, that's our eternal benefit. And no one can ever take that away from us. But we ourselves can have it covered over by a negative attitude. We can see others who have gone through terrible setbacks, maybe worse than us, and they've gone on and become more and more advanced in Krishna consciousness. So we should go on watering the seed, or should be more than a seed, the growing plant of Krishna consciousness, and not think that, well, it's all useless, and just cut it down or leave it and not give any more water of hearing and chanting, and stop watering the weeds of the nasty thoughts. And water the bhakti lata. The watering means hearing and chanting. We get the bhakti lata beach from a guru, and then we have to water that. Mali hoya shebi, what is it? Mali hoya kori shebi jaro pan, shaban kirtan jale. Koriye shechan, yeah. We should become a gardener and water the growing, or the seed which grows into a creeper of devotional service. But it may be that other weeds grow up. So we have to take guidance from the experienced, expert gardener. We always have to take guidance, go forward. And not remain stuck get locked up in the jail, in the dungeon of our dark thoughts, nasty thoughts within our mind. We're not the first one and we're not the last one to have to face serious challenges in Krishna consciousness. Everyone who's come out of material consciousness and come to Krishna consciousness, everyone's gone through serious challenges. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataha. Krishna says that many persons in the past, becoming freed from attachment, fear and anger, they came to me. They became purified by knowledge and austerity. So Krishna, and they came to me. So Krishna summarizes it. But everyone who comes to Krishna consciousness and goes all the way through to the top means we reach the Bhakti Lata, reaches up to the spiritual world, and there it blossoms with the fruit, with the blossom of love of Krishna, and then it continues to grow within the spiritual world. So those who have made it, it's not without severe challenges. Everyone. Even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, there were the division of Advaita Acharya's sons. Some followed him, some didn't. So many discrepancies arose in Vaishnava society. So the difficulties that we see in contemporary Vaishnava society, it's nothing unique. It's every religious institution has faced and will continue to face such difficulties. Because if it's actually religious, then that means they're pursuing a high ideal, they're trying to be better, trying to improve themselves, be significantly improved. But falling from the ideal is there also. It's there in every religious institution. It's practically inevitable. That doesn't make bad behavior of devotees acceptable. But it might help us to consider that such things do happen. And even these New Age life coaches, they all tell us that difficulties are an opportunity. If you're going to succeed in whatever you want to do, or you have to go through so many difficulties. But if we become overwhelmed by difficulties, and we can't pick up and go on, then we can never progress. That's true in material life, and it's true in spiritual life. Or instead of getting into this blaming or depression in the mode of ignorance, then we may revert to our old mode of passion tendencies, of wanting to enjoy the world. Life is, after all, meant for enjoyment. Srila Prabhupada said that. As I've many times said. When Mike Robinson of the London Broadcasting Corporation, one of the few times I was personally in Prabhupada's presence, asked Srila Prabhupada, what is the purpose of life? Srila Prabhupada said, to enjoy. I was shocked. Then Prabhupada explained how we can't enjoy in material life, we can only be happy in Krishna consciousness. But then if we think that, Krishna consciousness, okay, but we don't have to be so strict, let's do what makes me happy. Let's try and be happy. Happy means there's a whole big world out there, and when it's not raining in Zagreb, then you can enjoy the sunshine, unless it gets too hot. But we start to think in terms of, I'll do Krishna conscious as I like, and mix it up with some material enjoyment, and leave out the bits I don't like. And then we lose the principle of Krishna consciousness, which is Krishnarte Akila Cheshta. Everything we do should simply be for Krishna's pleasure. We should think in terms of what Krishna likes and what Krishna doesn't like, and then we should act on that basis. But another way that activity of the mode of passion, creation. So speculative philosophies, we make up speculative philosophies which we mix with Krishna consciousness. So we may have some speculative take on how to practice Krishna consciousness instead of accepting the Mahajana Shepot, the path of the Mahajans, the great persons before us. So we have speculative ideas. All the philosophy in the world, mundane philosophy, it's mostly very elaborate ideas how to live happily in this world. Even the Stoics, who have come to the correct conclusion that this world isn't very happy, but it's a system to adjust your mind so that you can survive as well as you can. Or there may be philosophies which are impelled by the mode of passion, by the mode of ignorance, destruction, leading to destruction. But we can mix up ideas that we should enjoy this world and the Krishna consciousness also. Why not have both? Best of both worlds. And then when we see devotees who are seriously practicing Vairagya Vidya, trying to become detached from this world on the basis of proper knowledge of the nature of this world and the nature of Krishna and Krishna consciousness, then we may scoff at them, say they're all hypocrites, they're all fundamentalists, jihadis, let's be normal, let's be natural, we'll chant Hare Krishna. And no real harm in drinking a little wine now and then. I mean, everyone around, we see so many nice people and they drink wine. Or maybe a little marijuana now and then. Makes you nicer, doesn't it? And all these rules about illicit sex, don't have to take them so seriously. Or we may practice Krishna consciousness with a mixture of the mode of goodness, just wanting to be nice and good in this world, but not really throwing ourselves at Krishna. Atma Nikshepa, fully surrender, making the endeavor to fully surrender. Live peacefully, live nicely, chant Hare Krishna. Just act at the level you're at. Be natural, don't be artificial. Now it's true that we shouldn't imitate higher levels or pretend to be on a higher level than we are. But if we only remain at the level that we are at, then we won't go up. We won't make any progress. We always have to strive to improve. And when we're trying to go up, it means there's always a chance to slip down. And even if we think we'll just remain at some steady level, we can also slip from that. So it may seem easy and more pleasant not to have high standards. Srila Prabhupada himself said that if he didn't have standards and rules, then he would have many more followers. And we see that in various newer Vaishnava organizations, which they don't stress on following many rules. And they get more people. It's like selling diamonds compared to selling glass beads. We always have to strive to improve. But in some ways, it's definitely not easy. It's definitely easier not to have high standards, because then you don't push others, you don't annoy them. There's no criticizing or chastising of others. Now I'm going to give the formula how we can stop fall down. Very easy thing. Just let everyone do what they like. Don't be judgmental. Just encourage everyone to chant Hare Krishna, and there won't be any fall down because no one will go up. Anyway, you're down, so you're not going to fall down. And even if you do, no one's going to be judgmental because everything's okay. There's no standard. Don't go up. Just remain down. But by remaining down, you don't go up. No one makes any progress. So if you propagate that rules and regulations, such as rising early and so on, are not important, what is important is just what's in your heart, then maybe many will like to take that up. But rules and regulations are there because within our heart there are many bad things. The rules and regulations restrict us from the bad things and guide us to purify the heart. Now it's true that rules and regulations aren't important, and what matters is in your heart for Paramahamsas. And it's also true that in the beginning, yena tena pakarena manah krishnena veshayat, that in the beginning we should just try to bring people to Krishna consciousness, and gradually we can introduce rules and regulations. Not that rules and regulations are unimportant, but in the very beginning we don't emphasize. First let people have some feeling for Krishna and Krishna consciousness. But at some point we have to introduce rules and regulations, because realistically we do have a lot of contamination in our heart. And Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning, he just invited people to come, chant, take prasad, and he would give talks, and not many people stayed for them. But for those who did stay, Srila Prabhupada gradually brought them up to a higher level. And he gave rules and regulations so that his new followers could progress. He gave the rules which all the previous acharyas gave, which are necessary for our spiritual advancement. But what happens if we propagate that rules and regulations aren't so very important and we can all just come together and chant Hare Krishna? Well, then more people will like to join, and that becomes the majority. And it might seem that those who are following the path that was given by all the previous acharyas, of following, that might seem fanaticism compared to they're chanting Hare Krishna, we're chanting Hare Krishna, but we're not so fanatic. I mean, it might seem like fanatical. And then the majority, that becomes the majority, and it might seem that the straight and narrow path is just for a few fanatics who are out of touch with reality. Because look, we have so many people coming. We don't tell them you have to actually take seriously what Srila Prabhupada says in his books, that having long hair and beards is not appreciated by the followers of Lord Chaitanya. You don't have to take that seriously. Or you don't have to take all these rules. You don't have to take it seriously. Just chant Hare Krishna. And then we come to Sahaja. Everything's very easy. Everything's very natural. And it becomes a mess. Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra Vidhing Vina Aikantiki Hare Bhaktiya Utpatayaiva Kalpate. Devotional service, so-called devotional service, which is not in line with the Shastras, what's given in Shastras. That becomes a disturbance in the proper execution of devotional service. How does it become a disturbance? Because people see the people are chanting Hare Krishna and they don't follow. or they don't have to follow. And they see others who are saying, yes, yes, you should follow. And they, who are these people saying? You should follow all these rules. It becomes a disturbance to propagate a mixed approach. So there are various approaches in Krishna consciousness. Yes, that's a fact. But we have to see the approach given by Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. And it's true that the prospect of surrendering to Krishna is a great challenge. But it's also true that the rules and regulations are required for spiritual advancement. Rules and regulations means there has to be discipline. We can't force it on anyone. But one who accepts the discipline can actually become a disciple and start to make proper progress by following strictly, by accepting the discipline. And those who are not ready to follow strictly are welcome to come and join in the kirtan and take prasad and do some service. But we shouldn't propagate that following and not following are on the same level, and that some, or that even somehow or other not following is better than following. You may say that those who are not following, those who are following strictly, they won't, just wait, they won't. Anyway, they won't keep it up. They'll also come, they'll come and join us after some time. You may do some preaching to them. Why follow straight? Come and join us now. But it's not necessarily true. There are many devotees who have followed strictly throughout their lives. Why try to drag them down or criticize them for trying to go up to the highest ideal? You say, yeah, well, they're fanatics. They're always talking about things like rules and regulations, pointing out faults in others. And it's true that strictness can turn to fanaticism and mistreating others who are not ready to be or willing to be so strict. And it's a great social skill to be strict with yourself and open and friendly to and encouraging to others, fostering good relationships, dealing with people at the level they're at. Not everyone has that skill, but it makes for great leadership in Krishna consciousness. Leadership doesn't necessarily mean having a position. A great exemplar of this principle of personally being fully dedicated but encouraging everyone at whatever level they were at and really encouraging them very much is Jayananda Prabhu. I recommend you can read, there's a book about him. I don't remember the name. Jayananda Thakur. And there's also in Vyasaki Prabhu's book, there's a lot about him. Radha Damodar Vilas. Yeah, but there's another book specifically about Jayananda Prabhu. Yeah. There'll always be a tension between those who want to follow strictly and those who don't. What's the solution? How about Varnashram Dharma? Those who want to follow strictly, they are Brahmanas. Those who don't are Shudras, or less. Anyone who's chanting Hare Krishna is glorious, but there are levels also, and Varnashram Dharma makes a hierarchy. Nowadays we have supposed to be Brahmanas who don't follow the regulated principles very strictly. They have a thread on their shoulder, but they don't follow very strictly. But better than making them into Brahmanas artificially would be simply to accept Shudras, encourage them to chant Hare Krishna. The problem is no one wants to accept that they're a Shudra, even if they happen to be acting on that level because they have a Brahmin thread. Srila Prabhupada wanted to make brahmanas to show what real brahmanas are. Because the brahmana caste in India were mostly acting as Shudras. You're not a brahmana if you don't practice strictly. And no true brahmana will undermine the importance of rules and regulations. A true brahmana sees everything philosophically. He sees Krishna's hand in everything. Amid disturbances, he knows there must be some lesson to learn. Take shelter in spiritual practices. Remain steady and strict without hatred or resentment, even though there may be reasons for him to feel resentment, but he doesn't cultivate that in his heart. He knows that by the mercy of Krishna, I've been given everything I need for achieving the perfection of life if we just stay on the path and continue to chant Hare Krishna. It's natural to become discouraged when we see others who we looked up to on the wrong path. Again, Arjuna with Bhishma and Drona and Shalya. If we see that respected devotees don't live up to the level, we may think, what hope is there for me? I'm just neophyte compared to them. But we should consider, again, I'm saying it again, that we're so fortunate to have taken to Krishna consciousness after so many lives. Now is our great chance, and whatever others may do, we should keep on the path. There's nothing better we can do with our lives, and everything else is just a waste of time. Learn from the failings of others to avoid such disasters in our own life. And instead of being discouraged, take it as an incentive to take all the more seriously to Krishna consciousness, realizing that we are very weak, and Maya is very strong. So we need to practice very seriously, sincerely. We need to pray to Krishna. And the 6 Goswamis, H.I. Goshaija Muitaradas, Tasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagras, to protect us. There's no guarantee against falling down. But we should know that those who fall, they're not lost. They don't fall down. Srila Prabhupada writes in that Navayajano jatu katanjana vrajen mukunda sevyanyavadanga sangsritim. This verse of Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada opens his purport by saying that those who are in Krishna consciousness but fall away, they're not fallen like ordinary materialistic people. Even if they've fallen badly, they won't be lost. They will again come to the proper path. And Krishna promises this. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Even those who have made offenses, if they've done something positive in Krishna consciousness prior to that, then Krishna will never forget. That's for their eternal benefit. We should avoid making offenses. Avoid by all means. Devotees are all special people. We have to be very careful. It's special because Krishna likes them. So we have to be careful not to make offense. At the same time, we have to keep our discrimination clear to understand what is actual Krishna consciousness on the path given by the previous acharyas and what isn't. We can keep our intelligence sharp by regularly hearing and studying Srila Prabhupada's book, Srimad Bhagavatam Tatshrinvan, Supatan Vicharana Paro Vimuchan Naraha. By regularly hearing, studying, considering the message of Bhagavatam, we will be free from all contamination. We will go back to Godhead. If we can't relate to a particular devotee or a particular group of devotees, there are other groups. It's inevitable there will be different groups, subgroups. And it's a challenge for us to maintain peaceful relationships. There are so few Vaishnavas in the world. And it's not good if we're fighting out of egoistic spirit. We need association to advance in Krishna consciousness, and we should seek the best association that we can find. But we can't expect to find Paramahamsas just here, there, and everywhere. But if we find devotees who are sincerely and seriously practicing, we should crave their association, aspire for their association. We saw Srila Prabhupada and so many of his godbrothers, after the fighting broke out in their spiritual master's institution, how traumatic that must have been. Everything they'd given themselves to for years became the institution, the preaching became so much damaged by so much infighting. Some of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, they got involved and tried to sort out the mess. And then there are others who, after some time, realized that this mess is never going to be sorted out. Some preferred to stay with the original institution, thinking that it is, after all, our spiritual master's institution. Others set up their own institutions. And they distanced themselves from each other, or they had their own institutions, which there'd be certain godbrothers who are friendly with each other, but they had different institutions. But they all went on with their Krishna consciousness. Some of the institutions under the Gauriya Math umbrella, they remain inimical to each other. But more or less, most of them, they get along with each other. And that's true with ISKCON and Gauriya Math also. It's not so rough as it used to be. Gradually becoming more accepting of each other, and seeing that the differences are mostly personal, not philosophical. Within ISKCON, or what spawned off from ISKCON, we have philosophical differences also, so that makes things more complicated. Anyway, we don't want to see splinters and factions, but the main thing is that we have to preserve our Krishna consciousness. That's the gist of what I'm saying here. When there's disturbances in Vaishnava society, don't become disturbed. As far as possible, don't become disturbed. Place ourselves in a situation where we can not be disturbed. But better than just surviving in Krishna consciousness is to go on, keep strongly in our mind the ultimate goal of pure devotion to Krishna. And if we look at ourselves and look at the 6 Goswamis and all the great pure devotees, we may see that there's such a big difference, and it seems, how are we ever going to come to the level of pure, loving devotion to Krishna? But we have hope. by their mercy, we can. So keep seeking their mercy with the faith that there will come a day, by their mercy, where pure devotion to Krishna will manifest in my heart. So we should keep that hope as our goal in life. Don't get diverted by so many other things. One warning from Srila Prabhupada. In one of his letters he wrote, relationships between God brothers must be very genuine and pleasing, otherwise the future of our institution will not be very hopeful. Some down-to-earth practical advice, whatever happens, don't stop chanting 16 rounds. Even if your mind is all over the place, keep on chanting. If you don't, you'll get gobbled up by Maya. Hare Krishna. That's all for now. Hare Krishna. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly brought this Krishna conscious movement to the Western world and gave us the mission to ourselves become Krishna conscious and spread that to others also. Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo. Hare Krishna. Now if I ask for questions, we're going to get, well, so-and-so said this and so-and-so did that, and so I'm not going to ask for questions. You're not going to ask a question like that? Okay.
If a devotee in difficulty seeks our help, and then we try to encourage him to take shelter of Krishna and spiritual practices, and because he's not like a Brahmana, he cannot even theoretically take that as a solution. What to do? Can we help them at all?
Well, if they're not prepared to follow the practices, then we can't help. If you happen to know, you may not be a topmost doctor, but you happen to know that this medicine works, it's helping me, and someone says, oh, I'm so sick. Any suggestions? And you say, take this medicine. And say, no. Then what can you do? Encourage them to do something at some level. Give a donation. Chant Hare Krishna when they wake up in the morning, when they go to sleep at night. I saw some other hand over there also. No? Okay. Ishvara Puri Ke Dhanna Karilen Sri Chaitanya Jagat Guru More Gaura Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna. My question is related to the last part of the class when you mentioned that between ISKCON and Gaudiya Math there is not these philosophical differences, but
Actually, there was one. Yeah,
but we have
there was one major divide. Included in the mix was philosophical differences. That's true.
But we have here.
But there's one group which is itself split up into other groups, which took a philosophically different tack. But all the others, they're more or less on the same. I mean, talking in broad terms. Same in Madhva Sampradaya also. After so many generations. In Madhva Sampradaya, there's no major philosophical split after so many centuries. Ramanuja Sampradaya, major philosophical split. They're still fighting with each other. Not so much nowadays. They're not fighting so much nowadays because they don't care so much.
And here in ISKCON, you said that there are philosophical, differences. Don't we all, understand we are not this body, we are the soul.
We all understand
we
that,
should follow Guru.
Did you fall from the spiritual world?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. We didn't have any split in ISKCON over that. Gender roles. That's a philosophical come social issue. That's not caused a split per se so much, but there's definitely a big divide. Yeah, I gave a talk that Sri Vaishnavas, who I've spoken with in South India, they're unhappy to see that there's discord within ISKCON over this issue, this particular issue. And again, it could be, anyway, then we got into that, but the whole gender issue can be resolved if we take seriously Srila Prabhupada's instructions to institute Varnashram Dharma. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into specifics.
Thank you.
Speaking in a general way. Okay, one more question, then we'll finish.
Hare Krishna. It's a difficult question, so please bear with me. What about the aspect of relations when we are helping someone to degrade? There are some devotees...
Why should you help someone to degrade?
I meant to ask, is it better to avoid association with such devotees?
But why should you want to degrade someone?
No. I do not wish, but they have mindset.
If they want to degrade,
Yeah.
then what can you do? You can try and help. You can't wake up a man who's pretending to be asleep. Yatechasi tata kuru. You make your choice.
So better to avoid such association if...
Yeah, they'll drag us down also. That's also a possibility. Hare Krishna. All glories to His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
ISKCON Bhakti Vikas Maharaj ki